Well, thank you very much for your interest, and if anything changes, we'll let you know. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate.
No, we're not interested. Thank you. That's it. Goodbye.
Do you know what I'm offering?
You do have to send an email. No matter how much information you give me, it still has to come through an email.
All right, I'll start there with an email, and then
Thank you.
yeah. And what was your first name again?
Have a good day.
Sorry. Most Amazon sellers waste time getting rejected on the phone or by email and miss out on adding profitable wholesale accounts because they overlook 7 critical steps that should be baked into every single time you contact a supplier. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the exact sales system that I use to turn hundreds of wholesale supplier, no, we aren't working with Amazon sellers, into, well, brand exclusive agreements. This is the exact sales system that's allowed me to sell over $2.8 million on Amazon so far this year. And check this out, I'm inside my Amazon selling account right now, and this is revenue broken down by my top 3 brand exclusives. As you can see, these 3 accounts alone brought in over $1.5 million by themselves last year. And I'm not here to hold you hostage. Your time is valuable, which is why I'm going to put my exact opening phone script template on the screen and read it to you in the exact tonality that I use with suppliers right now. Yes, hi, my name is Brad. I'm calling with my company blank out of blank. I'm calling because I'm interested in opening a wholesale account. Am I speaking with the right person for that? Perfect, and I'm sure you get a lot of calls, so I'm going to take less than 60 seconds to just tell you a little bit more about our company. We're an e-commerce company. We stock and ship to our facility located in blank. We have our own website, and we do sell on Amazon. Can you tell me a little bit more about your strategy surrounding the e-commerce space, kind of what that looks like for you right now? Now, if you missed any of that, you may want to play that part back, screenshot it, and really listen closely to my tonality. And listen, I get it. If that's all you wanted from the video, you won't hurt my feelings if you ditch the video right now, but if you do leave, you're going to miss the exact 7-step strategy that helps me close profitable wholesale accounts and brand exclusives, which I'm going to break down right now. And the reason why this is so powerful is because you get 100% of the sales at all times. You don't have to worry about price tanking, competition, or the unpredictable factors that you get with doing retail or online arbitrage, so it greatly increases profitability for your business. So let's break down this 7-step strategy and discuss why it's so powerful, and it starts like this. Step number 1 is why. So in the first sentence of my opening phone script template, I'm saying, hi, my name is Brad. I'm calling with my company blank out of blank. I'm calling because I'm interested in opening a wholesale account. So I'm giving them the reason why I'm calling right away. I see new sellers all the time kick the can down the road and just never tell them why they're calling. So they just sort of delay this process, and you want to get out of the way early why you are calling them. They don't know you and you don't know them, so the best thing you can do is just introduce yourself and tell them exactly why you're calling. On top of this, in the first sentence, I say, I'm calling with my company blank out of blank. And the reason I do this is because it's adding an element of professionalism and humanizing the conversation a bit. So this helps you avoid sounding like the guy in his kitchen microwaving his lunch while he has the brand on speakerphone, even though that probably is you. Step number 2 is save time. Am I speaking with the right person for that? I see new sellers do this all the time, and they start pitching to a secretary. You don't want to do this. I talk a lot about the need for making 50 to 100 calls per week in order to successfully grow your Amazon wholesale business. And there's no way you're going to be able to make all these calls in a week if you're just continuously talking to the wrong person on the other end of the phone. So early on in the conversation, we have to ask if we're speaking with the right person, and then they will transfer us, hopefully, to a decision maker or even the owner of the company. Once we've determined that we're speaking with the right person, this enters step number 3, where we're going to get into tactical empathy and labeling. So I state in this sentence, perfect. I'm sure you get a lot of calls from businesses looking to sell your products. Let's stop right here. What I'm doing is I'm labeling the problem that they have on a recurring basis before they've even verbalized it. This immediately puts me on a level playing field as the brand that I'm calling. So many new Amazon sellers reach out to brands and perceive the brands as being way up here and themselves down here. But by opening the conversation and immediately recognizing that they get calls from other Amazon sellers, you've just moved yourself from being down here with the brand up onto their level. I'm also empathizing with the brand, but I'm doing so in a tactical way because I'm leading them down the road where I want them to go. Then I say, so I'm going to take less than 60 seconds and tell you a little bit more about our company. And the reason why I use this timestamp is, well, because the number one objection is time and everyone's schedule is too busy. So the best thing I can do early on in the conversation is tell the brand that I'm only looking to take up 60 seconds of their time. And I could tell you guys from experience, if you have the brand on the phone for 60 seconds, chances are you could probably have them on the phone for an hour. So this is step number 4, which is overcome objection. So we just overcame one objection, which was the brand is too busy and doesn't have enough time to talk with you. Now in the next sentence, we're going to overcome the next objection, which is drop shipping. When a brand hears e-commerce or online sales, they immediately assume drop shipping. It's important to mention to the brand early on that you stock and ship your products to your facility. The reason for this is because, one, it's showing the brand that you're capable of carrying their inventory and you're interested in making a commitment with their brand. We want to avoid that low-level objection altogether because brands think e-commerce and online sales, and then they think, I have to ship this seller's orders as they come in. And drop shipping is definitely not what we're doing. We are providing the brand with value upfront by placing a stocking order. In this same sentence, we're using step number 5, which is establishing legitimacy. And we're doing this by telling them that we stock and ship our products to our facility located in blank. And by doing this, we are establishing legitimacy because, one, we're telling them we have the capabilities of stocking and carrying inventory up front. So that means we have to be financially sound in order to carry inventory. And 2, we're telling them that we're shipping our inventory to our facility. And even if you work out of your house, you could still say you're shipping to your facility. Now that we've overcame multiple objections from the brand and established legitimacy, step number 6 is arguably the most important part of the conversation. In step number 6, we are going to be honest with them. So the next sentence is, we have our own website and we do sell on Amazon. And we're getting Amazon out of the way upfront and early. I see new sellers all the time end up opening a wholesale account with the brand and they never end up telling them they're selling on Amazon. So what ends up happening is the new seller gets the wholesale account and then they list their products on Amazon and then they realize later on that, well, they can't sell the products on Amazon. So we're being honest and getting this out of the way early, and honesty is the best way to start a relationship. But take important note of what I use next. This is step number 7, which is diversion. So I'm going to read these 2 sentences again in the exact way that I do with brands on the phone. We have our own website and we do sell on Amazon. Can you tell me a little bit more about your e-commerce strategy right now? So right after I told them we do sell on Amazon, I immediately diverted their attention away from Amazon by using a calibrated question to get them warmed up and talking. We're going to talk more about calibrated questions later, but this is the exact strategy that I use because it's shown to be so effective in that tell them that you sell on Amazon and immediately in their head a red flag goes off because they're hearing the word Amazon. I deflect their attention away from the word Amazon and start asking them about their business so that they can start telling me some of their pain points around the Amazon platform. At this point, we're going to get one of 3 responses, and their response is going to be based on not just what they say, but more importantly, how they say it. And we use this spectrum to gauge their response, which is going to dictate where the rest of the conversation goes. So the supplier is going to give you a response, and it's either going to be a yes, absolutely, we will work with e-commerce companies, we have no problem with it, or no, we're completely not interested in working with you, brick and mortar only. Right in the middle is going to be unsure. Somewhere between unsure and no is the sweet spot for closing brand deals. This is because these are the suppliers we can close. They are better than yeses because there is a higher barrier to entry, and most Amazon sellers can't close these. A brand that gives you this type of response is unsure of their direction when it comes to Amazon, which gives us a window of opportunity. They aren't just taking anyone that reaches out to them, but at the same time, they also aren't completely opposed and closed-minded to the e-commerce space. As you get closer to the no, the challenge gets more difficult, but the reward becomes higher. And let me give you an example. So about 3.5 years ago, I began the first conversation with a brand that I have today that is my most profitable brand direct exclusive. But it definitely didn't start like that. 3.5 years ago, I was sitting in my kitchen and I picked up my phone and I started dialing the brand's number. I knew this brand was a little bit out of my league because of how high the revenue was. So I called the brand, and to my surprise, the owner picked up. And here's what happened. The owner was quite resistant to working with additional e-commerce sellers, specifically on Amazon, and mainly because they had a multitude of Amazon sellers, some of which they didn't even know how they got on there. So they were dealing with distribution control on their Amazon listings. So I presented some solutions to them, but I definitely wasn't pushy. I told them about how they can control their distribution on Amazon, how they can regain control over their pricing, which is going to protect other platforms of distribution and brick and mortar stores. And by the end of the conversation, a conversation that started with, no, we're not really interested, turned into, well, okay, let's follow up in about 3 months. And that's exactly what I did, and I actually followed up sooner with them. So every single month, I followed up with this brand for about 2.5 years until finally in 2023, the brand was open to working with me. At this point, I placed a $50,000 purchase order with the brand to establish legitimacy, and the products sold pretty fast. So I was really excited about the potential of this account, and once I closed the account and made a purchase with the brand, this began our working relationship together, and within 3.5 months, we were already talking exclusivity. And another 3 months later, the exclusive agreement closed. So the lesson in all of this is that if you can stay in the game for a long time and consistently follow up with brands, you've already put yourself ahead of 99% of Amazon sellers reaching out to these brands. On the other side of the spectrum, the closer you get to yes, the reward tends to go in the opposite direction, meaning that the payout and caliber of the wholesale account isn't as high. If a brand is willing to work with anyone that reaches out to them, chances are the listings might be oversaturated, the products might not sell as well, and the profitability just might not be there. That being said, there are thousands of brands out there that have extremely high volume but lack the profitability because there's so many Amazon sellers on the listing. Brands like these simply lack strategy around the Amazon platform. So what do we do in a situation like this? You have to understand that these types of brands need to be educated, and education is a process that happens over time. Sometimes I will secure a wholesale account with a brand that sells really well, but the listings are completely oversaturated with Amazon sellers. And most might say, well, why would you want to do that? And to that I would say, I don't. I merely do this to get my foot in the door for a future potential exclusive opportunity. A foot-in-the-door wholesale account means that I purchase products from the brand either at a break-even or unprofitable level merely to get my foot in the door and advance toward exclusivity long-term. Over time, I then advance toward exclusivity by educating them about the Amazon platform and how it impacts their business. Now, we can't just do this with any brand, though. We have to have the emotional intelligence to read if brand exclusivity will ever even be in the cards. The ability to read this comes with time and experience. When I look back on my wholesale journey, there were massive brand exclusive opportunities right in front of my face, and I didn't know how to close these brand exclusive accounts simply because I didn't know how to read if the brand was or would be in the future open to selling exclusively to one Amazon seller. Closing more wholesale accounts, specifically with brands, is simply a game of leveling up your emotional intelligence, and you do this by making 100 calls per week. Which leads me into tonality, because if you're making 100 calls per week to these brands, but you're not speaking to them in the right way and you don't understand how to pick up on their cues, chances are you're still probably not going to close a ton of wholesale accounts with brands. Tonality is arguably the most important factor in this entire picture. Tonality piques your prospect's interests. It contains small details, but But these small details have a massive impact on the conversation. They give you a more convincing presence and ensure that you are in the driver's seat, but at the same time, you're not dictating the conversation. When you reach out to brands and distributors, they are so used to hearing the same song and dance from other Amazon sellers. I want to buy your products. I want to place $10,000 in an opening order. I'll do this. I'll do that. That when you sound different, simply put, it gets their attention. Something goes off in their head telling them, wow, this person sounds different, and I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with a brand and they tell me exactly that. Wow, you sound a lot different than all of the other sellers reaching out to us. But how do we get them to have this realization? Well, we ask them calibrated questions about their business and stop talking about ours. Calibrated questions are strategically crafted, open-ended questions that give the illusion of control to the other party. They typically start with what or how and are designed to encourage the other person to think about solutions and reveal their needs and concerns. I highly recommend that you read the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This book totally changed my way of thinking when it comes to sales calls and negotiation. We aren't taking Amazon sellers is the most common objection, but we have to understand the reason behind this objection. We uncover why they aren't taking Amazon sellers by listening and asking questions. Here's a list of calibrated questions that you can use on your next call with a wholesale supplier. Feel free to pause this video right now and take a screenshot. I'm not going to read every one of these, but each of these calibrated questions can be used in different situations depending on how the conversation develops. The first one is probably the most common one you'll use early on in the conversation. When you ask your calibrated question, you should have intention behind it. Don't just ask the question, understand where you are taking the conversation. While we feed off of the supplier's response, we are pulling the strings of the conversation and guiding them toward a favorable outcome for us. Remember, have upward and downward inflection in your tonality. Be sincere, have empathy, and show that you genuinely care. Because most Amazon sellers, well, don't care. This is one of the most common objections suppliers will give you for not willing to work with you. We're only taking brick and mortar stores. This objection can be handled in a few different ways, and the first thing we want to determine is what was the brand's tonality when they gave you the brick and mortar store objection. In the second response, their words say no, but their tone says otherwise, and they started opening up, giving us something to work with. The brand just gave us our ammunition. We have too many online sellers right now. I see new sellers take the we have a brick and mortar store and sell online approach, and I have to be honest, this approach is not the most efficient approach in my opinion. When I first started, I took this approach for a while, and our company was in a different industry every week. First, we were in the grocery industry, then the automotive, then the beauty. The reason I did this early on was because I lacked the skill set to be confident in positioning myself as an expert in the e-commerce space. I have some problems with this we have a brick and mortar approach. First, if you don't have a brick and mortar store, well, you're starting the conversation with a lie, and a lie is a terrible way of starting a relationship. Instead, own the fact that you are an expert in the e-commerce space. You are the solution that they have been looking for, and sell them on that. Why not flip the script? Now, you can partner with a brick and mortar store, or if you have the capital, even open up your own brick and mortar store, or perhaps if you have a warehouse, expand your facility to have a storefront component. However, again, I think this is a less efficient and somewhat shady way of securing what you are really after, which is to sell their products on Amazon or perhaps even brand exclusivity. I also think it's more work, especially if you have your own store. Now you have to worry about more management and overhead, or if you partner with a brick and mortar store, now you have to give them a commission of some kind. And I don't know about you, but it was a lot of work to close that wholesale account. So I want to retain all my margin for the products that I'm selling on Amazon. We're never going to get brand exclusivity by misleading them. We get brand exclusivity by positioning ourselves as the expert. Think about it. Why else would a brand go exclusive with you on Amazon? Anything short of you being an expert isn't going to cut it. Brands go exclusive with sellers because they are looking for a strategic partner. That being said, you don't need to understand every nuanced detail of A+ brand content or running PPC ads, as these are things that we can learn, hire, and outsource down the road as the opportunity develops. We need to be the partner for their brand on Amazon and be consistent from day one, from the first phone call to continuous follow-ups to slowly giving them value propositions. Knowing when to call randomly, when to send an email, when to send a Loom video presenting challenges and solutions for their brand, and even when to literally go fly out and meet them for lunch. This is all based on emotional intelligence, and as you have hundreds and thousands of calls with brands, you understand when to let the line out and give the brand a little bit of space, but also when to be more aggressive and reel the line in. This is the art of emotional intelligence, and if you can master this art, you can close brand exclusives. And then when you do close them, you have to execute on your promises, because if you don't, they're going to lose trust quickly. When you build this system, execute on your promises, and build a personal relationship with your brand, you create this compounding effect in your business, because now you can use your current exclusives as testimonials to close new brands that may be on the fence. In short, brand exclusivity is an art, not a science. There is no one formula to close brand exclusivity. It just doesn't work like that. We're dealing with people, and I can tell you right now, people are unpredictable. Out of all the solutions you can provide a brand, education is by far the best solution. When you give endlessly without asking for anything in return, it comes back to you. My business strategy is to truly help brands succeed on Amazon, and that means doing right by their brand from day one, regardless of if they even go exclusive with me or not. This strategy has proven successful time and time again because when you shift the focus to truly caring about their brand, educating them, and providing the best possible information to them, brands recognize this and it solidifies exclusive partnerships. By taking this approach, you are laying the strongest foundation you possibly can. If you include these 7 steps in every call you make to suppliers, I could pretty much guarantee you're going to grow your business. But now that you know the steps, you need to make sure you implement them correctly when you're having a conversation with a brand. So watch this video next where I'll walk you through a live call with a brand and how to close an exclusive step by step.